listening to Star Wars Delusions of Granular. And as we roll into the new year, JP and I are anxiously awaiting the chance to talk about The Force Awakens with all of you. But we're working hard in the Granular Labs to put our thoughts together on that. But until then, what we wanted to do is give you a special treat this week. Think of it as a preview of things to come. If you've been following us on our website, delusionsofgranular.com, you know that we post a midweek review by our resident reviewer, Steve Sheev Shinder. He reads a lot of the new canon novels and comic books and writes up these really great reviews for us. And I've been wanting to get him on the show for a while now, and I think that's going to happen in the new year. So look forward to, hopefully, midweek audio reviews by Steve coming soon. But until then, here is tonight's episode, a preview of Steve himself as him and his brother, Alex, leave the theater and talk about their take on The Force Awakens. Take it away, guys.
Alright, so I'm Steve, and this is my brother, Alex.
How's it going?
So, we just saw The Force Awakens. That happened.
That we did, and let me tell you, it sucked. Just kidding, it was great.
Yeah, I think it accomplished some good stuff. Like, there were some things where I feel like I was expecting more. Like, for example, the ending, like, I know we're starting, like, right at the end of the movie, but, I knew that I had this feeling that Mark Hamill would have more screen time, like maybe 5 minutes or something like what Leonard Nimoy had in the Star Trek reboot. And like in that final shot, I was like, "No, the music is rising. Don't cut before we see his face. Don't cut before we see his face." And ultimately, we get a few seconds of his face, and he has that tear, and it was done well. But I was still expecting more Luke, you know?
I'm honestly glad with what we got at all, because as soon as they, finally got the plans for the map and the location of where to find him, I was kind of afraid that they were going to cut the movie then. And I would have been, and I know we had discussed this prior, I would have been very upset if we didn't see Luke in this film.
Yeah, there were so many moments where I was like, are they going to cut to end credits now? Like when the Millennium Falcon was taken off from the base. I felt like they were kind of teasing us. Like, is the movie over? Is it not?
Yeah, definitely. As far as things that stood out to me, I find one thing interesting, and again, to the listeners, I apologize that we're not really going in order of anything in the film. We're just kind of jumping around.
Don't worry about that.
You think about episodes 4, 5, and 6, and I feel like they can kind of stand on their own. They each feel like their own film. And even with episode 5 ending the way it did and knowing episode 6 was going to, continue on from there, episode 7 kind of feels like, it doesn't feel like its own film. It feels like it's a part of a bigger plan.
I guess I could kind of see that. At the same time, The Force Awakens feels like in some ways it's the same as other Star Wars movies, but in other ways it feels like it has its own new style that it brought to the film series, which...
Definitely.
Yeah. You think there's like a good balance to that?
I do. They obviously did a great job of, hiding the plot and, the characters and stuff and the intentions of the movie. It definitely had that old school Star Wars feel, which is what everyone was hoping for. I'm sure that's what J.J. Abrams was going for with his use of practical effects. But it did have this newness to it, and obviously the nostalgia factor was there 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you get, like, right when we see that Lucasfilm logo, like, we don't hear that fanfare we're familiar with, but it's like, yeah, the Lucasfilm logo, and then see a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and it's like, yeah, and then in that first sentence of the opening crawl, like, right there's a plot, Luke Skywalker has vanished, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and, I mean, obviously this movie just kind of opened up a whole new bag of questions for viewers, and I don't know if that's stuff that they'll reveal in the upcoming movies, where has Luke been? or if that's stuff that they're going to cover in upcoming novels that they plan to release.
Maybe. That'd be interesting. One thing I'm still wondering about is Rey's family. You know, some people speculated that maybe she's related to characters we've seen, but to be honest, she could be related to people we've never seen or heard about.
Right, and given the opening tone of the film, and Kylo Ren's reaction to hearing about a girl, the way Han Solo was kind of treating her at first, I got the impression that perhaps she was his daughter too, and her and Ren were twins, but obviously not the case.
Yeah, like I feel like if they were going to reveal that, they would have revealed it in this movie instead of putting it off for a later movie.
Right, of course, and this film does raise other questions. Other than who was her family, why did they abandon her? It raises several other questions, not only about backstory, again, which may be covered in other material in other ways, but how the heck did Poe escape from Jakku and survive?
Yeah, I must have missed that. Like
he kind of just mentioned something to Finn, but he didn't really say anything more than, "I woke up, it was dark, you were gone." Nothing.
Yeah, like did he? Like when the ship crashed, did it somehow launch? Wait. I think I might have figured out, like, maybe he used an ejector seat and they, like, launched him far from where Finn was. Like there are ejector seats in TIE fighters, but I don't know if that's, like, the explanation.
Who knows?
Like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's one of many questions that I feel were raised by this film. Again, backstory with, is it Snark? Is that, I don't know. Snoke, yeah. Snoke, who the heck is he?
Yeah, well, so some people speculated that Snoke would turn out to be Darth Plagueis. Like, Snoke would be, like, a pseudonym, and Plagueis came back to life. But while he does kind of look like Plagueis, it looks like that's not the case. Like, it looks like he's a different kind of alien.
And, but here's the thing. Is he actually what seems to be 25 feet tall? Or is that just the projection of him?
Yeah, that hologram was godlike. Like, it made it seem like he was there. Like, it just shows how far that technology has come. I hope that he's that tall, because I remember hearing somewhere that they said they couldn't do, like, practical effects for Snoke because he's so big and it'd be a lot of work, so they use motion capture. I like to think that he's, like, gigantic. Like, he looks cool like that.
I'm sure we'll find out eventually. And there are a few things I did want to address as far as the film. I don't know that I have this quote correct, but, when the Resistance arrives at the base and they're trying to take out the pivotal part of the base to, kind of have it self-destruct, we see Poe give a quote because it had been revealed that, the planet has to recharge its weapon by sucking up the sun. When the sun's gone, that's when it's ready to fire. And this is brought to our attention, and Poe says, as long as there's light, there's hope. In terms of, as long as there's light, guess what? We still have time. But that double meaning for that quote, I feel, carries a lot of weight. And we see it, several minutes later when Han is confronting Ben, a.k.a. Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And, they give you this sense that, is Kylo Ren really going to turn back to the light side because he says he's being pulled apart? I need your help, Dad.
Yeah, like, for a moment, I was like, oh, he's going to kill Han. But then when he was handing the lightsaber, I was like, wait, is he not going to do it? Is he redeemed already?
I wasn't sure if it was, he's asking his dad to just kill him because he's torn. But then it cuts to back out in the outdoors, and the sun goes away, the light goes out. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on inside of Kylo Ren. He had to, at that moment, the hope went out in him, the light side went out in him, and at that moment he kills his father, Han Solo. Which we all kind of saw coming, right? I mean,
right, but it was still hard to see.
It was. I clasped my hand over my mouth. It was shocking.
Yeah, my eyes watered.
I knew it was coming, though. We all know Harrison Ford's, I guess, connection with the film, that he kind of, although he's been coming out and saying how great Star Wars is. In the past, he's kind of spoken out how, the kind of thing it's become, and we kind of knew that although it was great seeing him come back, that he probably wasn't going to be involved moving forward.
Right.
And that he was going to probably be killed off.
Yeah, I think he has some sort of appreciation for the films. It's just that he doesn't want that to be the only thing he's remembered for.
Right. And again, as far as raising bag of questions, it's weird how just an afterthought they give everything, just a kind of one-line throwaway of what the hell they've been up to.
Like, who are the Knights of Ren? They still haven't fully explained all that.
Not only the Knights of Ren, but Han and Chewie leaving Leia. Did they not get married? Did they just have kids and kind of go their separate ways? They did mention that they kind of coped in their own way, and that's, where they both went back to doing their own thing, but I just find it interesting that with a few sentences, it's kind of, like, really, wait, go back. Seems like a big deal.
Yeah, like, before seeing the movie, I kept going back and forth wondering whether Han and Leia would be married after Return of the Jedi like they were in the EU, and it's like, are they together, aren't they? And we kind of got, like, bits of both of that with it. It's like they were together, they had a kid together, and then they went their separate ways.
Right, but Leia still has Organa as her last name, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I like that she's a general.
Yeah, that was great. And that Akbar appearance, that was amazing. And with that alien that was co-pilot in the Millennium Falcon with Lando, assuming it's the same one. Assuming it's the same guy.
I think it's the same guy.
I thought that was a cool little appearance, too.
Yeah, there's another alien in one of the X-Wings, which I thought was cool. Like, it's cool seeing more aliens in, like, Rebel Alliance or, like, the Resistance and stuff like that.
Right, and, I thought it would have been interesting to see aliens, as we've seen in previous comics, see aliens as stormtroopers, which, unfortunately, we didn't get to see this time around. Based on all the helmets we saw, it seems like they're all humans or humanoids at least. But the Empire, not the Empire, I should say,
First Order.
The First Order, exactly, did give a quick explanation as to how the heck we're replenishing our troops without clones. And apparently they're just snatching up babies and reprogramming them to work for them and do what they're supposed to be doing as part of the First Order.
Yeah.
Another thing I found interesting was when the troops weren't getting the job done, I forget who, but someone mentions, do we need to bring in a clone army? Or perhaps they should use clone. So does this mean that the First Order...
Wait, really? I didn't catch that.
Does this mean that the First Order has maybe a platoon of clones that is more experienced than the others? Or, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Well, if it were the clones from the prequel trilogy, they'd be very old and maybe dead by now. But maybe there is still cloning technology, who knows? Like, I kept wondering whether Finn might have been a clone of someone. Like, maybe the First Order got clones of people and raised them from birth, but might not be the case. And I know that some people speculated that he'd be the son of Zer Leonis from Star Wars Rebels, and who knows, that could still be a possibility, or he could have a different family, who knows.
Another thing I thought was interesting was we don't necessarily know that Finn is Force sensitive at all.
Oh, yeah.
We see him use a lightsaber, but it's done very clumsily, and we still don't know.
Yeah, because, like, I assumed that he was Force sensitive because of John Boyega's reaction to the trailer, where you hear Han say, the Jedi, and there's a shot of Finn, and John Boyega's like, damn right, and it's like, oh, I guess he is Force sensitive. But
plus, just the fact that he's holding a lightsaber, right?
Yeah.
He uses it. It's not something you necessarily see of a character that's not one. But it's interesting. And I already know people are going to complain that how the heck did this guy who may or may not be Force sensitive with no training, this girl who's obviously Force sensitive and growing with the Force, but also not trained, lose to Kylo Ren, who is Force sensitive and has had some sort of formal training. I know that people are going to complain about that.
Yeah.
I know that's going to be a big thing, but I'd like to address that now. Obviously, a couple reasons right off the bat. Kylo Ren's training was never finished. He obviously betrayed Luke before his training was done. And, I'm sorry, what's his name again? Snoke?
Yeah.
Snoke says it's time to complete his training at the end of the film. So here's a guy who's not trained properly. obviously the Force was stronger with Rey in that moment because her power was just off the charts, you know? Another thing is Kylo Ren was fighting angry. And I get, let the hate flow through you. It's a big part of their dark side, but he was fighting angry, but without focus.
Yeah, it was kind of like unfocused adolescent angst. I mean, he might be 30, but still has like that sort of mindset.
Exactly. So I feel those are just, the mixture of reasons why, him losing was totally plausible.
Yeah, I could see some people not liking certain aspects of this movie because it's different. Like, I already know people are going to be like, oh, there's too much running in this movie, but like, people are going to complain about that, I feel.
You know what else I disliked?
What?
We didn't get to see Jack from Captain Phasma. I
wanted to see more action from her.
Always saw, especially from the trailers, with her badass walking down the hall with her rifle.
Yeah, I mean, she still looks badass, but
she does.
I'm glad they didn't kill her off, so she could be more badass in the next movie.
Right, but I mean, looking badass was gonna seemingly be badass, and all we see is kind of her bark a few orders and do nothing else. No fight scenes, no action for her.
It's Boba Fett all over again.
Oh my gosh. Is she the new Boba Fett?
Hopefully she doesn't fall into a Sarlacc in the next movie.
I doubt it. Yeah. But I definitely look forward to seeing more from her.
Yeah, and General Hux seems like the new, Tarkin. I thought that the actor did a great performance.
He did do a great job, but I feel like there's just kind of moments where he kind of questions himself, right? There's, he's not always sure. I don't know. There seems to be... What's interesting is where Tarkin and Vader had this oneness with their team.
They're like bros.
They worked well together, and although Vader didn't get along well with the rest of the higher-ups in the Empire, him and Tarkin worked well together, whereas here, you could tell that between him and Kylo Ren, there's this kind of tug and pull. There's tension. They don't have the same way of going about doing things.
Yeah, it's
he doesn't have full faith in Kylo Ren, whereas Tarkin was like, Vader, get this done, and he knew it would get done.
Yeah, I like that their dynamic is different, even though they're sort of carrying on certain aspects of those characters.
Right, and it's interesting, you brought up the teenage angst earlier. I feel that from both of them. They're both young guys that are a big part of this cause, and they don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, I could see that. What do you think of all the nostalgic nods? Did we need to see the remote in the Falcon get tossed by Finn, or Finn accidentally turn on the game of Dejeric?
I don't know. I feel, I was kind of hoping that Star Wars wouldn't need to blatantly do stuff like that.
Jurassic World.
Exactly, yeah. I figured they wouldn't, but they did. But it still kind of fit, and it brought humor to it.
Yeah.
Some stuff you may or may not, like the remote that you brought up, you kind of just grabbed it.
Yeah, we were expecting the Wilhelm scream, and I've got a bad feeling about this, which we got, and I think it would have been fine just like that, but...
Another thing I thought was interesting when they did have Captain Phasma and were deciding what to do with her, Han says, is there a trash compactor nearby? I called it episode 4, of course, and I thought that was pretty funny.
At least they didn't have Akbar say it's a trap all over again. Well, as if that's the only thing he could ever say.
But they did have a chance, and I said it to you during the movie, and I kind of wish they had done it. What was it? He was bringing up that the planet has a shield some sort of powerful shield. What was the quote? Our fighters can't get through a shield that strong or something. I don't know what it was, but I was kind of hoping.
I remember he had one line where it was something to do with the size of Star Killer Base, and it reminded me of the magnitude line from...
Right, that's what I was bringing up. I was kind of hoping he would say of that magnitude, and he didn't. But all the same, it was awesome seeing Akbar. Awesome seeing just a throwback all in all,
Do you think that Starkiller Base was, destroyed too soon? I feel like it could have been carried on into, the next movie. Or, I don't know, it seemed kind of easy for me.
So, some parts of the movie, from the moment that we run into Han and Chewie to the end of the movie do seem like everything was resolved really quickly.
Yeah, I could see that.
But as far as the base, I don't know. I mean, it was unstable to begin with, and it was a priority. I mean, it makes sense. I get the feeling from the rhetoric that they used that it hadn't been used before. That this was the first time we were seeing its power.
Yeah, it might have been.
But yeah, I wonder why it's called Star Killer. Is it because the destructive power to destroy the planets, or the fact that it sucks up a sun as energy to use?
Yeah, like it uses a star to kill. Like it's a star killer, like something like that.
Well, maybe not so much that, but I mean, it essentially killed that star by sucking up the energy, right?
Oh yeah, that too.
You know,
and of course the behind-the-scenes explanation is it's a callback to Luke Skywalker's original name, Luke Starkiller.
Of course.
And, you know, a few days before seeing the movie, it was while I was watching the live stream of the red carpet premiere, like, people had speculated that Luke would be evil or he'd be Kylo Ren, and I'm glad they took off Kylo Ren's mask in the movie to confirm that he wasn't.
Y'all were wrong.
Yeah, but a few days before the movie, I came up with this wild guess that Luke was not on the poster because he was being used as some sort of, like, he was being used to power Starkiller Base somehow. Like, I thought that maybe they'd be manipulating his force powers to power that station or something, but I was wrong.
You know what I wish we would... I wish some sort of flashback or something of when Kylo Ren turned on Luke. I think that would have been awesome.
Right.
Because, you know, Han brings up that, you know, Luke was bringing up a whole new generation of Jedi. That means there were other youth.
Well, there aren't really flashbacks in Star Wars, though. Like, that's...
True.
You've never really seen those in the movies.
Right. I guess it would have felt out of place in terms of the film's style, but...
The closest we've gotten is, like, in the opposite direction. That premonition that Anakin has in Revenge of the Sith.
Or the premonitions that Rey was having when she touched the lightsaber.
Oh, I'm not even sure if those are premonitions or, like, a vision of something that's... Oh, wait, she did have, like, that flashback of when she was a kid. Like, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that scene kind of felt like that tree that Luke went inside of on Dagobah. Like, it reminded me of that scene where
definitely when she's going through the forest and climbing through those, you know, big rocks. It definitely felt like a throwback to her her quote unquote trial moment, especially when Kylo Ren shows up.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rey, I thought it was interesting. I guess how quickly the Force just kind of clicked with her. I mean, it's not unheard of, but I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, it did take her a few tries with the mind trick.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Speaking of the Force, and I don't know that this has been seen in other media, but it hasn't been seen in the movies. This new Force power that we see in the film that isn't a Force choke, but seems more like a Force pause, if I'm going to call it something.
Oh, is it with a blaster bolt?
Well, we see Kylo Ren do it with the blaster bolt, where he kind of just freezes it in midair.
Yeah, I actually thought it was funny seeing the stormtroopers run past it and go to Poe.
Right, and then we see him use it on Rey when he catches her in the forest.
Yeah.
It's obvious she wasn't being choked. She was kind of just frozen there vibrating. What is this new Force pause? Have you read about it or seen anything?
I don't know. Like, when I saw him using the Force on Poe and Rey, I thought maybe it was like he was doing something in, like, psychological torture or something.
Well, no, that of course was something else. Was him kind of, it felt like him kind of reading their minds, him kind of reaching into their brain and getting the information he needs. But I'm talking more specifically about the Force pause. I thought that was a pretty interesting thing.
Yeah, maybe it'll be called Force Freeze or something. I don't know.
Right, I don't know. Who knows?
I feel like there was something else I was going to bring up.
There was something else Rey related I wanted to say, and
what is it? How she didn't need to be saved at all in the movie? Like, she could take care of herself.
I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Stop taking my hand.
Yeah. Like Finn almost runs up to, like, save her from the thugs on Jakku, but by the time he's close, she's already gotten them beat up.
Right. And she was kind of the one picking him up, too.
Yeah.
And she's the one that saved him from Kylo Ren.
Yeah. There's also Max von Sydow's character in the opening of the movie. He played this old guy named Lor Santeca, I guess, and I was expecting his character to be a bigger deal since like his name had been kept a mystery for so long, but
yeah, I wonder what sort of ties he had to Leia and the Resistance. Apparently he was an old friend.
Right. And I was surprised to see that I actually didn't think BB-8 would be part of the Resistance. I thought BB-8 would be this droid that Rey would find at a scrapyard, and then they
did get pulled into the adventure.
Yeah, and Poe met up with Finn much sooner than I expected. So, it went against some of my expectations from seeing the trailer, which is a good thing, because, I was able to predict everything.
Right. Yeah, we don't get to see much of Poe, do we? But what we see is pretty awesome, and it leaves me wanting more.
Yeah, he doesn't get as much screen time as Finn and Rey, but he's kind of part of, this kind of new Big Three.
He's a big deal. He's obviously the Resistance's best fighter pilot.
Yeah.
Dare I say the best pilot we've seen in Star Wars? Better than Anakin Skywalker, perhaps? He was pretty...
I'd have to rewatch all these scenes.
We would, but you have to admit, he was pretty awesome for a guy who's not apparently Force sensitive.
Right. So
he was just a straight up pilot. But good stuff all around. One thing I thought was interesting when they're meeting at the little lady's place.
Oh, Maz Kanata?
Yeah, and we saw this dude in the trailers or the teaser, the big alien with the girl kind of sitting on his lap.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were going to be a bigger part of the film. And they're just in that one little scene.
Well, that lady, she's a mercenary named Bazine Natal. She appears in this short story that Lucasfilm released, which I bought and read on Kindle, and I kept wondering throughout the movie what was inside of this case that she was supposed to retrieve for, I guess, the First Order in that story, and we never really get an answer in that. So that's one of my questions. I know that not everyone's gonna have that question because I was one of few people who read that story, The Perfect Weapon, but I don't know. I feel like all those aliens in that scene, they had their own little short stories prior to this. I haven't read all of them, but I didn't think they'd do that much in the movie, and I was surprised to see Bazine get a line of dialogue at all, even if it was in a different language.
Right.
And the first time we hear Rey, she's speaking in an alien language. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and apparently she speaks Wookiee as well.
And speaks droid.
Yeah, it always got me. How the hell does someone speak droid?
Yeah.
Sometimes they understand them so well, and I just find that interesting. Everyone seems to understand a droid.
And of course, there's that question of C-3PO's red arm, which still will be answered in a comic coming in, near the end of February.
Yeah. And one thing, and I know you were worried about, or not worried, but wanting to see this is, did Leia continue her... or get any Jedi training at all, or Force training.
If not use a lightsaber, I want to see her use a Force in some way.
To pick up a pear and cut it up and eat it. But I feel like she is still connected with the Force. When Han dies, you can see that she felt it.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense for her to not be as committed to Jedi training as Luke is. She's committed to the Resistance, and I'm okay with that. But I'd, in the next movie, I would like to see her, do Force push, or, I don't know, pull down a Star Destroyer. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to be happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was, when, in the opening shot of The Force Awakens, when you see the planet Jakku, and then the Star Destroyer pulls up, I was like, holy shit, because I thought that it was bigger than the planet, because it looked like a shadow going over the planet, but then it turns out it was the ship itself, so.
Oh, right. Well, one thing, I was expecting the ship to come from above screen. as it normally does.
Yeah, this was different.
This time we were above the ship.
Yeah.
Seeing it from a bird's eye view.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess overall it was an enjoyable movie.
Definitely a great movie. Definitely worth the watch.
Yeah.
Especially for the avid Star Wars fan. I guess that's all we have at First Take.
Yeah, there are some things that I was expecting more of, but maybe we'll see those in episodes 8 and or 9. But who knows? We'll see.
Well, there you have it, folks. Steve and his brother Alex talking about The Force Awakens. Probably doing a better job at JP and myself as well. Good job, guys. Look forward to more of Steve in the coming year, and maybe he'll even get his brother Alex on the show sometimes as well. Until then, folks, my name is Ron, and as always, you're listening to Delusions of Granular. We are a podcast where we pick a topic and get granular with it, hence the title of the show. My gut feeling is we're going to be talking about The Force Awakens for quite a while, so look forward to some granular episodes about that. Maybe JP and myself we'll break down our thoughts on this into separate episodes about the movie instead of trying to sum it up all in one take. We'll see how it goes when JP and I finally sit down and talk. But as always, folks, you can join the SW Dog community. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/SWDog, or on Twitter at SWDog77. You can find all links to our social media and whatnot at our website, delusionsofgranular.com. That's GRANULAR.com. Or you can call and leave us a message on our hotline. It's 651-337-9364. And if you think that that's not going to go anywhere, well, Steve himself started by being a caller on our hotline and interacting with us, and look where that's gotten him. Part of the SW Dog community with his own very own show. So I encourage you all to talk to us, and we're trying to make SW Dog more than just JP talking at you, but a community where we're all sharing our thoughts. So if the phone isn't your thing and you want to email us, you can always email us at swdog77@gmail.com. And as always, you can find us on iTunes or Stitcher. You just subscribe to us there. You'll get all the latest episodes. And JP and I look forward to talking to you in the new year. Until then, stay granular.
It was a blockbuster summer. Moving pictures got us through to September. They made a movie about me and you, and they made it half nude and half true. There was a blood-sucking summer. I spent half the time trying to get paid for my savior. Swishing through the city center, I did a couple favors for these guys that look like Tusken Raiders.